Hi everybody, it's ready for Tuesday morning, and I hope you're ready for our devotional time. We're looking in the book of Genesis chapter 18 at the story of Abraham and Lot. Lot got himself into an awful lot of trouble, found himself in a place called Sodom and Gomorrah. He was drawn in there like a dog returns to his vomit, so the sinful nature of man just seems to draw us into the muck and the degradation of life, and Lot was really in substantial trouble. But God still had a plan for this whole situation. He sent, first of all, 3 angels to say they were going to destroy the city. But the question we asked before we get to the destruction of the city was, what was Lot doing in that place anyway? Why was he there? Well, you know that Sodom and Gomorrah is simply a picture for us today of the world and the worldly system around us. It is attractive to many. It seems to have such potential. It seems to be the place where we can make a name for ourselves, and who wouldn't want to do that? And so Lot was drawn into the city for the same reason that we often get drawn into the system of the world around us. So don't be too tough on Lot. I think many of us do the same thing. But the interesting thing that we have to ask is, as a believer, what role do I have to play in a place called the world, which is pictured as Sodom and Gomorrah? Now, my thesis is simply this, is that Lot was in the right place, but he was there for the wrong reason. You see, the world does need us as Christians to be there. The Sodom and Gomorrahs of the world need a Christian testimony. We are called to be light in darkness, and the darker the dark, the brighter the light is going to shine. We're called to be salt, and salt is a purifying agent to the world around it. And so if the salt is stuck in the cell, it's of no use to the world that is meant to be purifying. So as Christians, we're stuck with this dilemma: should I be in Sodom, or should I be withdrawing myself from the world and keep a distance? Because the Bible also talks, come out from among them and be separate. And so, as I say, I wonder if Lot had been there for a different reason. If Lot had gone into Sodom as a redemptive agent, if Lot had gone into Sodom to see if he could restore that place, if he could point them toward Jehovah, if he could make some kind of difference in that place, I think you would have found that Lot would have been in the right place for then the right reason. But sadly, he was in the right place for the wrong reason. Now, there's a challenge for us as Christians here today. We live in the world, do we not? The Bible has told us, do not be part of the worldly system. We live there, but we're not to be part of the world. We are to be the salt and the light, as I've said a number of times. So in our lives together today, I want to encourage you to look at the world around you and say, what is my role here? My role is simply to be God's agent in this dying and destroyed world. My job is to bring God's kingdom here on this earth. Thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. How's God going to do that if the church is all in a monastery sitting up on a hill? If the church is behind 4 walls singing songs and doing really nice things, I have nothing against that. But the church's role is to be in the world, but never to be polluted by it. I used an illustration in church the other day. I think is a really cool one. You know, if you go deep sea fishing, those fish that live out there live in salt water. And when you catch one and you take this thing and you scale it or you skin it and you cook it, what's the first thing that you put on it? You put salt on it. Now, I wonder how that fish that lives in an environment of salt, completely full of salt, never gets tainted by the salt in which it lives. And I guess there's some physiological reason that it's able to do that. And I guess as Christians, we should be able to be the same. We should be in the world, but never be tainted by it. We are there to be pure agents for God to use us, just like the fish in the sea behind me that you can't quite see because of the rain clouds, that fish, when you take it out, is untainted by the environment in which it lives. Wouldn't it be amazing, people, if the church could take on that kind of a role? If the church could really be the agent of change that the world needs to see, that God could use us in a dark and a dying world, that we could bring life and light into that place without experiencing the taint thereof. I heard somebody once say, you know, there's not enough of the church in the world, but there's too much of the world in the church. I'd hate to say it, but that's probably true. But I love the church. So let's wake up. Let's not be tainted. Let's do our job in the dark and dying world and be all that God wants us to be today. Guys, thanks for listening. You have a great Tuesday, and we will see you tomorrow. Cheers.